Hello everyone, thank you for coming to watch this video of me setting up my bullet journal ready for the month of April 21, can't believe it. And this time I am going to be setting it up in the theme of Finland, as voted by a lot of you in last month's video, in my weeklies video. So thank you so much to everyone who voted. It really helped me narrow down the choices, and I know that a lot of you want to see Finland. So let's see what we discover.
You say is bringing you down. Your clothes are still on my floor. They speak to me.
So to start, I do my little flag at the front of my journal where I just fill in the flag of the country that I'm doing. But in this video, I also included some swatches of some brand new paints that I recently got that I really wanted to work with in my journal this month. So I've got some new gouache paints. They're from Holbein. They're tiny, teeny little tubes. I'm hoping I don't go through them too fast. But I just thought I'd swatch them out and film that just in case anyone was interested. I'll have more info about them on my Patreon videos where I'll go into a little bit more in depth of how I paint with gouache. So if anyone's interested in that, there are 3 membership tiers to choose from, and I'll leave the link in the description box down below. Okay, so I'm going to be really honest with you guys and just let you know that I was a little bit nervous to do Finland because I felt like it was going to be quite similar to Norway, and I only did Norway a few months ago. So I was a little bit nervous about what I might find or things that might get repeated, but I'll tell you what, I am impressed. And that's what's awesome about this country discovery thing that I've got going on, because they really are so different. Every place has gems that are just uniquely to their country, and that's exactly what I found with Finland. Now, Finland is famous for being the happiest country in the world, and I feel like I can understand why, because, well, not to mention the scenery looks incredible, but it's got the cleanest air, the education system is amazing, and it's considered to be the safest place in the world. So the crime rate is extremely low, which surely would add to that feeling of being at ease in your own hometown. The other thing I was actually surprised to find out is how heavily focused they are on coffee. The coffee culture in Finland is enormous. The average Finn drinks about 12 kilograms of coffee per year, which works out to be about 4 or 5 cups per day, which is more than any other nation in the world. And to be honest, I can understand why, because it looks extremely cold. So I think that coffee would probably be essential just to keep yourself moving. So that brings me to what I am deciding to draw on my cover. So I knew I wanted to have my traveling girl drinking a cup of coffee, but the other thing that I immediately thought of when Finland was chosen was the saunas. Now, the Finnish invented the sauna apparently about 1,000 years ago, but it's not just that they have saunas or they created saunas, it's that it's such a huge part of the lifestyle over there. It's not only to revitalize yourself, but it's also a massive stress reliever, and it seems to be embedded in their traditional history and just part of their way of life, really. So now to what I'm actually painting here. As you can see, it is a little cute red cabin on a lake. The red cabin I'm imagining is a sauna. So there's a sauna inside. She's gone in there. She's had her little stress relieving session. She's come out, had a coffee. But before she had the coffee, she actually jumped into the lake, because that's also something the Finnish people do. After their sauna, they jump straight in a freezing cold lake. And it's, yeah, supposed to be really refreshing and revitalizing, which I can definitely think it would be. So this cabin sauna, I decided to draw on a lake surrounded by forest, and that's because Finland is known to be the land of 1,000 lakes. But in actual fact, there is almost 200,000 lakes across Finland. Just incredible. Oh, and you'll see me pointing out here that I'm actually using a Fiskars paper cutter. I didn't realize that this was a Finnish brand, but it is. So I just thought that was quite cool that I had something Finnish right on hand to sort of explore the country even further. So now that I had finished my cover page, my landscape shot, I was really happy with how it turned out. It was very deep and bold, which is kind of what I was after, so that's good. I cut it in half and then I stuck it into the front page of my monthly spreads. Now this month I wanted to try something a little different with my Dutch door. I still wanted to have a Dutch door, but I thought I would do one pretty much on each page that form little tabs for each of the pages. Thought it might be a good way to flick directly to, you know, my Goodliness page where I'm doing my habit tracking, things like that. So I actually started with just creating a wave on that first page, and then I used a glass to make a circle at the top of the first page, and then just slightly down on the next page, then down again into the middle for the third page, and so on until I got down to the bottom. So that's how I've created these circles you'll see in a minute as the tab dividers for my bullet journal this month. It felt a little bit scary cutting this one straight down through all the work that I just put into the painting, but I'm really glad I did in the end because I really like the wave effect on it. And then just to finish that page off, I used a gold pen down the side of the wave and then wrote an A in gold pen as well. And to be honest, I couldn't decide on a space to use April in the painting. I loved the painting so much, but I didn't really want to include the word April anywhere because I thought it might throw it off. So I've just done like a sort of Finnish inspired font type for the letter A. And yeah, I did have the thought of putting it on the cabin, like have April written there, but it was going to be so small anyway that it was kind of pointless. And then she was finished. So here's a complete look at the cover page for Finland. On this next page is where I do my calendar spread, and I knew that straight away with Finland I wanted to do some of the Marimekko designs. Now if you haven't seen Marimekko or haven't heard of them before, it's a Finnish design house that specialise in furnishings and textiles and women's fashion, and the patterns that they use that they are made famous for are these beautiful, bold, bright designs that I was immediately drawn to and I wanted to put on this page. So if you haven't noticed, my nails look a little bit fun this time round, and that's because I was harnessing the Marimekko style and I just painted on some little poppies or flowers onto my nails, and I knew I wanted to do that in the calendar spread as well. So I found a design that I loved of Marimekko's and just basically used that as a big splash of border across the right hand side of the page, which then you could see from the front cover as well. So I really love how that turned out, and it was so much fun to do. Just lots of little lines. It reminds me of mandala making, just like lots of little lines and circles and patterns, and then just add some bold color in there, and it just is so satisfying to create. So if you're maybe not that practiced in your art skills, try this one and I swear you won't be disappointed. Just try and use that pattern making style and in your own way. Do some flowers if you want to. Oh, it's just a lot of fun. And I'm definitely feeling inspired to do this more. I'm thinking maybe art on cue, I'll try and incorporate that because it was just a lot of fun. And then I also wanted to include the national animal for Finland, which is the brown bear. So I had drawn him on the bottom left corner and I really liked this sort of curve that I had flowing around, and it shaped into his hind legs and the back. But then I cut it off, didn't I? So luckily it didn't spoil the look it was going for. So I just left it as it was. I could have brought him across to be fully on, but I don't know. I don't think it was needed. So yeah, I just coloured in the bear also in that pattern, just adding some little shaded hatching lines where the shadows are on him. This is where I go through onto each page behind this and cut about 4, I think I left 4 dots from the right hand side, cut down and then went around my glass circle that I'd made earlier, and then basically just coloured in that little tab to suit the Marimekko design, so that when you look from the top, the front cover page, you'd see all the tabs still in that same design. I did play with the thought of maybe putting like an actual word on there so that I know what section it's going to, but I figured I'd get used to it anyway in the month. I'll know that, the red one is the mind map and, the yellow is my weeks. I'd just get used to that personally. But I love how this turned out, and just having those dividers, if it works well throughout the month, I'm definitely keen on keeping that. So do let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. Do you like the dividers, or do you use them personally in your bullet journals? I would love to know if you find them useful. And now we're turning over onto my needs and wants list page. Now, me being a mum myself, and a lot of my friends are all either entering newly motherhood or, we've just gone through that learning to be a mum and all the costs that come with it. So I found something really interesting, which I'll talk about in just a second. But first, I just want to talk you through what I'm about to do here. I wanted to use an envelope on this page to hold a little book reading list that I've got going. I want that to go in to each monthly setup so that I can tick off the books that I'm reading as I go. But I figured out how to make it, so I thought I'd show it. So I'm just using a square piece of paper, folding it in half into a triangle twice, then bringing in the corners to that fold in the center, lifting up the bottom corner to almost the center, folding those bottom corners, and then sticking it down. And then you have made yourself an envelope. I really loved this patterned paper that I used, but I felt like it was too busy once I'd done the drawing, so I ended up just using a little white envelope that I already had anyway. But I thought I'd include it in the video just in case you wanted to know how to make an envelope as well. So now back to what I'm actually drawing. I discovered that Finland actually gives every new mother-to-be, anyone pregnant, gets a maternity pack from the government, and they give you a big box that actually doubles as a baby's cot, like it's got a mattress in it, and it's full of goodies that you will need for starting your family off. So you got, bottles and nappies or diapers, whatever you call them in whatever country you're in. And it's got bibs and beanies and blankets and bodysuits. How many other B's can I think of? But yeah, I was so impressed that everything that you can think of you would need is in this kit that's given to you from the government. And I just thought, wow, what a lovely gesture. And it would be so helpful for anyone who isn't in the financial position to go and buy brand new everything. So to have this given to you from the government is such a beautiful thing. And so I wanted to show that here on the needs and wants page, because that's pretty much the definition of it. Is this something you do need when you're becoming a mother? You've got a little baby, you need all these things. And yeah, it's nice to know that your country is looking after you in that way. So I really loved that. So I thought I would put that on this page, and it just worked out ideal that I could use the envelope as the box itself. And now we're moving on to the meal plan page. And the meal plan, I have gone for a meal that looks like dirt. Not my words. I read it somewhere online that people would confuse this with dirt, and I don't blame them. It's called Malmi, and it's actually an Easter delicacy. So once again, it felt like the perfect timing with Easter around the corner. So it's made from rye flour and malt and syrup, and it's a dessert that Finns love to enjoy on Easter. So I've got that in the bowl, like a top-down view of a bowl at the top where I've written meal plan. So I didn't actually have to draw what looks like dirt. I just did stippling to kind of emulate that idea of a pudding style in a bowl. Hope that makes sense. And then on the outside of that, I wanted to include the very famous salty licorice that Finns adore. It's called salmiakki. And yes, salty licorice. I love salty licorice. I remember trying it as a young kid. I have a Dutch auntie, and she had the black cat kind of salty licorice, and yeah, I just remember loving it. So yeah, I would be a fan to try some of the salty licorice flavored things, because apparently there's salty licorice flavored ice cream and everything you will find, because it's such a popular flavor choice over there in Finland. The other side of this circle, I've decided to put some Karelian pastries, which I'll try to say in Finnish, the Karelian pirakka. And these are basically a rye pastry that are filled with rice porridge. And they're eaten at breakfast time or as a snack or even served at weddings. Tasty. And I am glad I've chosen to show them using a stippling technique. I think for these items itself, it would have not really looked that appetizing using a lot of dark browns, and I was just kind of over the realism of some of the meal plans that I've done. So I'm really happy that I chose to use stippling technique. And if you're not sure what that is, it's just where you're using clusters of dots in various proximities to each other and heavy densities to build that shading. And then this page was finished, and here's a look at the final piece. And now we're moving on to the mind map page. Now this was another one where I forgot to prep my drawing on it to suit the cutout that I was going to make on the right hand side. So luckily my drawing didn't get too mutilated, but I did have to bring in the left hand side of the sketch and, you know, cut off some of her hair and rework it. So the person that I've chosen to do for the mind map this time is actually the Finnish Prime Minister. Her name is Sanna Marin, and she was recommended to me by one of my subscribers, so thank you for that hot tip, because she was perfect. Last month in New Zealand, I actually wanted to do the Prime Minister of New Zealand as well, but I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I think this one is perfect. She is the youngest female state leader. She's only 35 and runs an entire government of women and leading an entire country at that age, which is mind-boggling for me, as that is very close to my age. I think the general consensus for this lady is that she's awesome, really well liked by Finnish people, and she's very approachable and very real. So yeah, what a great person to have on my mind map page for inspiration. So I've drawn her with a realistic, or tried to be as realistic as possible with my Prismacolor pencils. And I must say I'm not 100% happy with how this imagery turned out. I think it looks like her, but there's something off. Unfortunately, that's the trouble when you don't actually personally know someone that you're drawing and you're not overly familiar with them, because, you know, if it's a celebrity, you're usually bombarded with their face all the time and you can tell when something is off. You can usually pinpoint it. But when I'm working from imagery that I find on the internet about someone who I'm only knowing now, it's hard to pick where I've gone wrong in this image. So there's something bothering me, but I can't quite put my finger on it. But never mind, that's all good. What I'm going to do now here is colouring in her hair with some water-based texture, water-based marker. Can't get used to saying marker before texture. I apologise that I always do that. And then I go in with my Tombow marker, which is the greenery in behind. And then the flower that I've chosen is the national flower of Finland, which is Lily of the Valley, which is a beautiful droopy flower. And I think it just makes this image come to life. I think if you didn't have the flower, it could look quite boring. But yeah, I love the leaves on this and the way the flowers are. And it's a super easy flower to draw as well. So if you, I don't know, want a little quick tutorial, I could chuck that on my Instagram. If that's something you guys are interested in seeing, I was thinking I could do little short videos of how to draw certain things. Let me know if that's something you're interested in. But yeah, and then just touching up the final pieces, trying to make it a little bit more vivid in the color. It was looking a little bit washed out. And then titled the page and we were finished. This next spread is my goodliness page. So this is the spread that I keep my habit trackers on. I have been printing my little habit trackers lately. So I just made those on the computer, just 6 little mini calendars. And I'm trying to narrow down my selection for the things I track now, because I'm finding that I'm sort of skipping it some days or never ever crossing it off, which is just depressing. I want to be able to achieve these things, so I've just dropped down to 6. Now to decorate this page, I've gone for a very famous classic cartoon or comic strip called The Moomins. Now the Moomins are designed by a Finnish illustrator and writer, Tove Jansson, and she was a national treasure for Finland because these Moomins have really taken on a world of their own within Finland. Speaking of world of their own, they actually have a theme park dedicated to the Moomins in Finland. It's called Moomin World in Naantali, Finland. And that's actually what I'm drawing the Moomins in. So there's this beautiful blue replica of the Moomin's house, and visitors can actually go through to all 5 stories and see it, which I would love to go to. It looks so cool. And these characters, as I was drawing them, they're so much fun to draw. Once again, this is something I feel that if you're not overly confident with your drawing skills, you will probably have the ability to draw these. They're really simplified, hippo-like creatures. They're actually trolls, but yeah, they look a lot like hippos, but are just so simple and basic, but just really project this beautiful character design. So I'm really impressed with Tove's work, and I've looked into a lot more since learning about it. I think I'd heard of the Moomins before, but never really looked into it. So this is all fresh to me. And now I really want to watch the movie. There's a newish movie that I think is out or recently coming out. So yeah, I'm definitely keen to watch that. And there's been TV shows and theatre productions, and it's a huge, huge franchise in Finland now. So a real national treasure. Now, even though Tove actually speaks Swedish and all the Moomins are in Swedish originally, I didn't realise that was the case, because it turns out that Swedish is quite an official language of Finland. The majority speaks Finnish, but yeah, there's a large portion of the population that speaks Swedish natively, or a blend of the two languages called Finland Swedish. So all this was news and something that I thought I would share with you guys, just in case you were curious. So if you're interested in what I'm actually illustrating, I found a couple of images of the Moomins themselves, and then I've input them into the theme park photo that I had. So there's this beautiful photo of the blue house, the 5-story house, all covered in snow, and it looks completely just picturesque. So I thought it would be really cool to try and put the Moomins actually in that theme park. So I've sort of built a scene based on that. And I loved the colours in one of the illustrations that I found of Tove's of the Moomins, and they were standing in a doorway with all these beautiful, really muted pastel sort of colours for the flowers and plants around the house. So I thought I would try and include that at the base of the drawing of the realistic house. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, so I'm basically blending some imagery that I found and just building it from that. So the supplies I'm using for this particular drawing is just fine liners. I'm using black for the Moomins, but then for all the other ones that are in colour, I thought I would use a coloured fine liner to create the outlines. So all the line art is matching what the colour will be inside. And then I'm just using a soft grey and soft blues to try and give off that really cool icy feel. And then just using texture wherever I can. Ooh, marker wherever I can to colour in everything. Yeah, I really like how this page turned out. This is definitely my favourite Goodliness page so far. Whenever I turn to it, it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. I just think they're the cutest little creatures, and I just really love the colour selection. So yay for this Goodliness page. Let's hope that it makes me stick to my trackers. So as I mentioned before, I've previously printed out my little mini calendars, and now I'm just chopping them up and sticking them onto that blank space there. And then I'm just using some of the colours to make it look part of the scenery. So giving a border and writing in my headers for each of the tracking calendars. And here is the finished spread. And now I'm on to the last page of this setup, and this is the first weekly spread. Now there's only 4 days in the first week, so starting on Thursday, so I just had to grid up one page with 4 spaces for each day of that week. And then on the right hand side page, I decided to focus my attention on the Northern Lights. I did mention this in my Norway one because I'd always heard of it being, you know, great spotting from Norway, but these guys are very close to Norway. They're right at the top of the globe, so it makes sense that this is one of the best places to spot the Aurora Borealis. And I found it amazing, this place where you can sleep under the Northern Lights in an igloo, and it's called Kakslautinen Arctic Resort. Looks amazing and freezing, which is why you would drink coffee. I may have to become a coffee drinker before I go to Finland. I honestly can't even fathom the temperatures that this place reaches, being from Australia and have never seen snow. This would be very icy and a real test to my strength, my stamina. But I really love the look of this place, and hopefully one day I get to experience it. But it just looks beautiful, so I thought I would draw that on the side, and I've just kept it simple using my black fine liners, a black marker for the top, and then just a very light grey to try and make it look like snow on the base there. And then the Northern Lights, I've just used a gel pen, like an aqua gel pen, and some Prismacolor pencils in the green and the blue. And then to just finish this page off, I felt it lacked something on the other side. I just wanted to tie that colour in. So I had a nice washi tape that really went with that colour choice there. And so I just cut little blocks out of it to be the numbers. So the days of the week will be written in there in gold pen. They didn't really show up very well, so I probably won't do that much again. But I love having the little patch of colour and design there, which is really nice. And then I'm just writing which days of the week they are, and that is the final spread done. So we'll have a quick flick back through. I'm really happy with how this finish inspiration in my journal turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you would love to have this inside your bullet journal at home, don't forget to check out my website or Etsy shop where you can actually download this theme as a printable. Or otherwise, if you joined up as a member on my Patreon, you actually get this as one of the bonus content. So this comes to you every month. You'll get my digitized theme pack. So check those out if you're interested. There wasn't as many location spots this time because I just found more of the cultural aspects very interesting and things over there. So yeah, I hope you liked it. Feel free to share any advice or things that I may have missed that you want to see in the weeklies. The weeklies will be next week, and that will be also when I reveal the countries for the month of May. So I will see you guys then. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
But I can find the reasons why you always find a small excuse to leave. What's your excuse to make me cry? My love was lost when you came.